When it comes to real estate investing, every investor looks out for a real estate deal. Welcome back to another episode of Property Chat with Lucy, as I take you through how to analyze real estate deals and what they are for you as you're looking out for something that really makes sense in terms of getting you a good return on investment on your money. As you get into real estate, you need to be conversant with, have some of the key things clear in your mind. What do you want to invest in, your budget? Look out in the market and start collecting data on a couple of properties that you're interested, or rather in the particular area. As a realtor, I've come to realize two key things. When I get a property or someone tells me there's a property that is out in the market for sale, my first question would be, how much is it going for? And what is the projected net operating income from that property? And that ideally gives me a sense of just understanding if this is a potential deal or not. Now, when you're talking about those two dynamics in terms of the property sale price and the net operating income, it takes me to what is the return on that property. Majority of the investors in the market, they will always tell you, get me a property that has a return on investment of around 10% and above. What do they mean? Those two parameters are the key figures that you play around with to get to the 10 or the magic number. I call them magic numbers for any potential investor. So what happens is, if I know the sale price and I know the net operating income per month, I could easily get the return on investment. So ideally, what I do in my mind, I'll just take the annual net operating income over the sale price. And that will give me the magic number. And in that, I can categorize and say, that could be a potential investment that I could analyze further for myself or probably for a potential investor. Now, the other thing also that comes magically, I would ask you, or rather ask whoever is selling, what is the income per month? And what is the sale price? Ideally, when I see the income is probably a 1% of the sale price, I'm confident to just move ahead and analyze that property further. If it lies between 1 to 2%, I would say go ahead and just see if that is a good property for you. The other thing is also look at the percentage of the expenses. Ideally, a property expenses should not go beyond 30%, 30 to 50%, but 50% is a bit stretched. So you need to see the nature of expenses, what is the percentage, and ideally just know on your gross monthly income, that percentage of your expenses, how much is it? Because that again will determine the net income that comes to your pocket. So I've just given you the rule of thumb of some of the tools I use when I just get a deal or a potential property for sale in the market. I would like to get you through the further analysis of what I normally do when I'm analyzing any potential deal for a particular client. And this could be used by any person out there if you want to do it by yourself. But I always say, get a realtor, people the caliber of what I do in the market to just help you understand, because this is a bit technical, but I said let me just share with you because knowledge is key to anyone, and I'm just here to help you not make a mistake when it comes to real estate investing. So ideally, you're out there, you're looking for a property, you have your budget set aside, you've identified your location. What next for you? What I'll say is, if you've identified the location, you need to start with locational analysis, okay? When it comes to locational analysis, and I'm going to take you through very slowly so you understand, because it's a bit technical, but I need you to work with me. And if you have probably a cup of tea, please grab it and listen keenly, because this could change the direction of how you see real estate properties in the market. So when it comes to locational analysis, one thing I would say, just do a Google research, because there's so much information out there to understand how many properties have been in that line you want to invest have been listed, at what price, what is the acreage, because realtors or property agents will give a lot of information, especially if you log into Buy Rent Kenya's website, you log into Property Kenya. There's so many online platforms where you can get information. Now, just a quick question. If you see a property listed at 20 million, I always say that's a listing price, but not the market price, okay? They're two different dynamics. So if you've seen that particular area, properties, maybe 3-bedroom apartments have been listed for 20 million, and you have a budget of 15 million, I would say don't lose hope because you've seen properties going for 20 million. That's a listing price. And anytime a property is being listed, there's always a room for negotiation, unless it's a distressed property where they will actually comment, this is a distressed property, which is normally 75% of, 25% of the market price, or I'll just say it's a 75% of the market price or the selling price, okay? Now, you have gotten to yourself, or rather just gotten a bit of information on the locational properties, the properties that are within that area. In that case, you'll understand the supply of that particular property. Then also, you have seen how much they are being listed at. That will give you an idea of probably properties at 20, you are 15. Still, don't lose hope. Look also at why are these properties going for that much. In that case, you might find 2 properties going for, one is 23, one is 20, one is maybe 18. You need to understand the difference in pricing. I mean, the selling prices, because that also is very key, and you need to understand. It could be because of the size of the unit. It could be because of the size of the land if you're looking for a piece of land. Even location. If a property is on the first row on a main road, it's going to be more expensive than a property on the second row. So those are some of the dynamics a realtor will actually articulate clearly for you, to understand why property A and property B, they're selling at different prices, yet they're in the same location. By doing locational analysis, depending on the line of investing you want to do, you're actually understanding in depth the gaps in that market, the demand rates, the supply rates, and also you're getting to understand the rental figures in that particular market. And it's always good to be informed, because you're spending your hard-earned money, that you need to know if clearly this is the right direction for me. And I want to mention something. If probably you're looking for a piece of land that you're interested in, by so doing what you're calling now locational analysis, you're understanding how much similar parcels of land are being sold in that particular location. And this can give you a very huge leeway in terms of placing your offer on the table. And depending on what you want to do in terms of the development, you could be looking for a place to build your house, a place to build a block of apartments, or a retail center, or a petrol station, wherever it is. The numbers, in terms of the income side for this particular proposed development, is going to dictate how much you can place on the table. So if probably the owner is asking for 100 million and you do your user, it's giving you an X amount of money, with the targeted return on investment, it should give you back to the offer price that you need to place on the table. if that makes sense. It's a bit technical, but if you have someone who understands real estate figures, they can easily help you navigate through that part as you're looking out to invest in real estate, you know. And again, as I mentioned, once you get the offer price that you can place on the table, I always say that should be based on two things. It should be calculated with the net income, net annual income, and number two, that should be the maximum you can place on the table. So the first offer letter you place, it should not be your limit. It should be probably give it 40% below the targeted price. If it's 100 million, like what the target price for the seller is, imagine just start at 60. If there are no inquiries, or how you gauge the demand is by knowing if there are so many properties, similar properties in that location, it means the demand is low. So you can as well just give 40%, start from somewhere way below to give yourself room to negotiate your price. And in that case, if that price you attain a lower price and maybe 20-30% below, that automatically is a deal, because you can really maximize on your returns based on that equity value you have actualized as you come in. And as I always say, you make money at the point of buying, not at the point of getting out. And your exit strategy should be clearly articulated. And when I mean exit strategy, if you're buying a block of apartments, just get to know, if I'm getting in here for maybe 5-6 years, how much money can I sell back, in future, to give myself like good returns or good value? Am I going to make money at the point of selling? So that should guide you at the point of getting in. That's when you make money. And that is why any potential real estate investor, they always tell you, I want a deal. And a deal will always be a deal at the point of getting into the investment. Okay? Now, I've talked about land. Let's talk about income generating properties. You need to ask about the cash flow. I talked about one of the rule of thumbs I always ask is, how much is the cash flow coming out of this investment per month? As a rule of thumb, from experience, the income coming from that property should be at least 1 to 2% of the sale price if you want to take it further for further analysis. Now, the further analysis on cash flow, you need to understand what affects the level of cash flow coming in to any potential investor or to you as an investor. And when I mean the nature of expenses, because what is very important is the net operating income after you've deducted any potential expenses from that particular property. Now, expenses cut across electricity, land rents, land rates, insurance, anything pertaining property maintenance, that's one. Also, occupancy levels. You'll need to know what is the attractiveness of this property to any potential tenant or to any potential realtor. To any potential retailer, because that will dictate the occupancy levels. And you'd rather want your property to have a good or what we call a healthy occupancy rate, which is around 80% and above. Now, we get a lot of people who are excited. That building is fully occupied, we just have one vacant shop in the retail complex. But I want you to go deeper. Check the nature of tenants in that particular property, because you want to have tenants who are a bit steady in terms of their occupation or employment, or you need retailers that are strong brands in the market. You know, that clearly will tell you the stability of the nature of tenants. And it's very key in terms of determining the nature of, or rather the rate of your occupancy levels. You don't want to have tenants who will have a high rate of getting in and out of the property. You know, that is not good for any business. So I would say go deeper, look at the nature of tenants, what affects the occupancy levels. In terms of the location also could be another determining factor affecting the occupancy rate of the particular building. Then also in terms of electricity, if it's a retail or residential, you need to know, are these tenants paying electricity directly to KPLC, or it's paid out of your pocket or out of your rental? Those are the key things you need to ask, for you can know the level of cash flow that comes to you and what affects that cash flow. Okay? For me, that is very key, because my second rule of thumb, it's what percentage of your expenses affect your cash flow. And you see, that percentage also, you need to know the nature of expenses, what affects those expenses. And this could be articulated again, as I said, by an experienced realtor in that particular area, or guys who know how to run through the numbers when they're checking out if this is a potential deal for you or not. Let's go to the next point, and I think I've mentioned it in my introduction. It's understanding the capitalization rate. Now, that magic number I was talking about, that is every realtor will be looking out for their potential client, is what you're calling capitalization rate. Now, capitalization rate, in other words, is your net annual income divided by the sale price. That value you get, it's like what really motivates people to put in their money. If it's above 10 going up, you're in safe hands in terms of putting your money in that particular investment. And ideally it comes from a point of experience for most of these realtors, because I mentioned any top real estate investor, they sense a good deal from afar. Ideally, that's the percentage you are left with is a return on an investment relative to the overall property price on an annual basis. To learn if the number you get makes a good real estate deal or not, you need to run the annual net operating income, and you also need to understand the selling price, and what, after running that analysis, then you can know if you have a deal or not. Okay, guys. Now, I'm going to give you, this is mostly for first-time investors or beginners in real estate. This is what we call cash-on-cash return. And ideally, this does not look into how you're going to finance the property. When I talk about financing, it's the borrowed money. They don't, this tool does not look at the mortgage aspect or any borrowed money. It is your cash injection into the property vis-a-vis the sale price, okay? So I'm just going to give you the analysis here. The major difference with the capitalization rate is where this one will ignore any amount. If probably, let me give an example so you understand. It could be a property is going for 100 million. You have 40 million. You need to borrow 60 million. This tool will not consider the 60 million you're borrowing. It will consider the 40 you're putting in vis-a-vis your net annual operating income, okay? So what it does is it will work with the net operating income divided by the cash injection, which is your 40 million. This tool is very good for beginners, because ideally the formula is very simple, not technical, and then also it does not look into the debt income ratio. So ideally that is also very key, just to see what is the return on your cash injection on that investment. Now the last one, and this comes from a point of experience, a point of where I've seen people get into investments and they're like, oh my goodness, I actually think this was not a good idea for me. I always say, get someone to run a comparative market analysis for you, what in most cases we call market and a feasibility study. Let me tell you guys, you might have 200 million to put in. This might cost you maybe $1 million bob, or even less than that, but your 1 million can save you your 200 million. Get someone to run a market study, and in a market study they will learn what we talked about when they were doing the locational analysis, to identify a gap so you can create demand for your development. This process is very key to any potential investor, because it looks at the property prices. It also predicts the future income generation from that particular investment, and this will always make you look attractive to any target market at any given point. And always there's some recommendations that comes with the study, where at any given point you'll be required to inject some money to make your property, you know, compete with current properties at that particular time. Okay, so when you're analyzing deals, ideally you need to run a comparative market analysis to know, if I put this money now at this particular point, am I going to remain relevant? Am I going to achieve my return on investment? And I would say during that process, you can always know if this particular property is a deal for you or not. Because if you identify a gap, then you can work out your numbers and get to know what is my limit for me to hit my 12% return on investment or not. And for all this, you need a professional to help you run your numbers. I hope you've enjoyed, and if you're out there looking for a deal in the market, or you have a property that someone has presented to you, you could always ring me. I will leave my contacts, my email. We could always run the numbers to just see if that particular property can make financial sense to you in the future, and also, are you making a deal now or not? Mine is to say thank you for watching and for your time. And guys, let's keep on subscribing if you've not subscribed. If you know anyone who can benefit from this content, please feel free to share my videos, and let me know of your views on the content in the comment section below. I will see you in my next video. Thank you.